If fear is the only thing stopping us from achieving our dreams, and we only fear what we don't understand, then the antidote to fear is knowledge. All we have to do is find out who has the knowledge that we need to conquer our fears and achieve our entrepreneurial dreams. My name is Callum Walker, and welcome to the podcast that will help you figure it out and conquer this lonely entrepreneurial journey.
You know, there's a clear difference between what a coach is and, without being disrespectful to personal trainers, if we think about the term personal trainer and like where that sort of came from, it's actually not a lot of people are aware of this, but the fitness industry in itself is it's in its infancy. And so what happened maybe around, I want to say around about 40 years ago, just post bodybuilding revolution where Arnold and Lou Ferrigno and all these guys and Santa Monica, that all got really popular really quick, largely down to Arnold's popularity. And so celebrities there started investing in something called a trainer, right? And then it became a personal trainer. Back then it was very much just, like bro science, guys, screaming at each other, counting each other's reps and everything else. And so without realizing it, the fitness industry has evolved way beyond that in the last 40 years. But, sometimes the term personal trainer can just be associated with that. Mm-hmm. As in, oh, I've got this guy who watches over me or girl who just watches over me for the session and they make sure that I do my thing. When in fact, it's just gone like way beyond that. And so I suppose the purpose of this conversation is, well, what has it evolved into, mm-hmm. right? Because here's a trend that I've seen throughout the years. You might have someone and they think to themselves, all right, well, I want to be a personal trainer and I want to show people exercise techniques and I want to make sure that they're doing things correctly and everything else. And I think it's always well-intentioned. And then what happens is they get into the fitness industry and then they find themselves standing on the gym floor board, selling their time for money, counting someone's reps, losing the will to live. And it's like, okay, so we know that that's not sustainable. Right? It's not sustainable for your clients because it's not creating independence, but it's also not sustainable for you because people are paying you not for your time, they're paying you for a result. And so that's largely what the industry has evolved towards. It's coaching. And so that's one side of it. But then the other side is just purely like the outside of the gym floor, which you're going to talk about as well, as in like, what are people doing with the rest of their week aside from the 4 and a bit hours that they're with you? How are you managing their lifestyle outside of that? Are you equipped to manage their lifestyle outside of that, right? Have you actually got the skills and tools required to inspire people, educate people, entertain people in a way that tells them stories that inspires them to stick with it? And, despite when they're, feeling demotivated at times like this, the last quarter of the year, people start to fall off, stop adhering to the program. What have you got in your skill set that keeps that people going, or keeps those people going, keeps those people turning up? And so this is what we try to get across as a company. There's more to it than just being a personal trainer per se. I actually think I think that term is gone. Yeah. I really do. I think it's like people understand more and more what coaching is. And I think they're trying to do better, but they just haven't been prepared for it. At least that's what I see anyway.
Wouldn't you say as well, like in terms of, because I see you have personal trainer and coach are two completely different people.
Yep.
So you look at kind of like an identity of what a coach looks like. I immediately think of Martin Rooney with a fucking whistle, like straight away, as a coach. Whereas personal trainer, I think that you kind of, for me, I look at the definition of a trainer is someone who is just training someone who is just showing up and delivering an exercise session. Whereas wouldn't you say that kind of like the difference between a personal trainer or, kind of in the title of this, like a rep counter and a coach is really centered around like the definition around a result in terms of that you look at the result that a personal trainer delivers, the result is an exercise session.
Yep.
Whereas the result that a coach delivers, well, that's a completely different kind of ball game. And again, you look at like, kind of simplify it down, I see a lot of things through films, through books and stories. You look at in films that whenever someone has a coach, they get them to that end result. Yeah, absolutely. But it's the transformation in the terms of that the person that individual then becomes off the back of working with a coach. So if you kind of look at, like, for me anyway, that a personal trainer, like if someone feels that they are kind of stuck in that rut of being a personal trainer and wants to step into the identity of being a coach, I think it really does come down to, like you said there, having the tools and the skill set to be able to transform someone and actually take them from the place where they are to where they want to get to, but more importantly, equip them to then become the person that they need to become off the back of it. And I think the one thing I certainly underestimated when I first got into the fitness industry was the amount I had to learn about people. You know, I did a sports science degree first up, and you know, there was personal training qualifications within it. I got like biomechanics training in there. I had a shed ton of physiology and even psychology. Like I did a sports psychology module. Even that, I was just kind of ladled with loads of terms that just I didn't really like, imagery and visualization. And I'm like, you try and get Karen to do some imagery and visualization when she's, you know, kind of stressed to shit off the back of the fact that she's got 5 kids and 3 jobs. Like it just doesn't relate.
No.
So, you know, for me, the one thing I really underestimated immensely and served as kind of a call to action of like, yeah, I really kind of need to change my approach here if I want to make this as a career, was really being able to understand people, and then how I can take this knowledge that I have and apply that in a way that people can understand it. They can then take action, and then also take action during times when they don't want to take action as well, which is like huge.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Totally agreed. And I think even like one of the, how I define a coach is a guide on the side, right? So it's like it's very, as a personal trainer, it's very reliant on a personal trainer, which again, I love PTs, you know, I get hundreds of them coming through our doors every year, but as soon as they walk through the door, I give them the definition of, hey, this is maybe what you came here for, but here's what you're going to evolve into. Right. And so it's like, and we're going to give you all of those things necessary that you're going to need in order to evolve into that. Because again, just if it's not that, you know, like I say, I think the lines are very blurred now today in the sense of like when people do get into the industry. So for example, you know, years ago, you just generally done this sort of standard, oh, you're a personal trainer now, you've done this PT course. And so what would happen very quickly is, as you just mentioned, people got into the industry and then they go through the sort of scenarios that I just mentioned, where they find themselves on the gym floor counting reps, selling their time for money, and they think, oh, there's got to be a little bit more to this, there's got to be better ways to do this. So very quickly the lines become blurred, whereas there are people who get into the industry and they're like, I want to be a coach, you know, I want to be a strength and conditioning coach, I want to coach athletes. But now, at least in my experience of late, you know, your course should essentially set you up to do both, and then let you make the decision as to what you think is going to be the best path for your future clients, right? And that includes, you know, lifestyle changes, as you mentioned. That includes nutrition, right? Because you'll know better than I will. I mean, I basically bypassed the nutrition on my PT course, but I mean, you know, what is courses out there setting people up for in that regard?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And wouldn't you say as well that then kind of like, you know, let's say that I'm someone who wants to get into the fitness industry. So I have this real bug for fitness. Like I really enjoy it myself. Maybe, you know, I've been in a job for a bit. I've been successful on paper, but just lacking that kind of fulfillment. And you kind of see like an advertisement, for example, for like personal training course. Now, wouldn't you say that kind of in terms of, we're talking about like becoming a coach versus a personal trainer, they're two very different destinations, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So then if they're two very different destinations, then they're two very different kind of vehicles and routes that you can then sort of go. So in terms of like the personal training qualifications, I think the thing that kind of frustrates me and probably frustrates the hell out of you as well is that like the ones that are prominently kind of available and easy accessible really just kind of take you to the route of being able to kind of count reps.
Yep.
And that can then just leave someone kind of feeling, like you said there, just wasting their time on the gym floor, probably feeling incredibly unfulfilled. And then it kind of takes someone to have to kind of come around and be like, hey, there is a different sort of way. But couldn't that be way too late?
Yeah.
For someone who's had their flame almost kind of like burnt out. So I think that the thing I love about you is almost like, especially with the message within ECA and why, you know, I'm so thrilled to be a part of it, is almost being like, hey, like prevention is better than cure. You don't have to get to that place. Like the vehicle that we give you, the route that we're going to take you down is actually about setting you up as a coach. So I can speak about the nutritional side of things, that it's about giving you all of the skills. Yeah, we'll show you exactly what to do in the gym, but then also, you know, we're going to, like, bringing myself on board, for example, level you up from a nutritional point of view, give you all of the skills that you need to help with your client in those 165 hours of the week outside of the gym. But yeah, I think that the point I'm kind of coming at there is that that has to kind of come down to you deciding what you want your personal training career to be, or your career in the fitness industry to be, and then choosing the right vehicle to get you there.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I suppose from, you know, staying on the nutrition side of things, like what do you see as from a nutritional coaching standpoint versus, let's say, what someone receives on a, you know, a basic bog standard course? Because I remember, you know, I said I bypassed the nutrition, and it was for a good reason. I was just like, I ain't reading nothing in the no eat well plate. It's like, I'll figure it out myself, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you look at a standard nutritional course, it'll cost you 700 quid. Like, I could genuinely save you 700 quid. Just go on www.nhs.co.uk/eat well,
You
and
get
they
it
will
for
tell you
free.
the same thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think nutritionally, the first thing is human behavior is so key, because I think the problem because I went through PT course during my first degree, they had PT course on it. I remember the nutritional information education that was on there, and I remember this on my exam vividly. That there was a question which was multiple choice, which was how many portions of fruit and vegetable do the British government recommend every single day? And it was multiple choice. And I just remember sitting there going like, is this genuinely the level of education and information that I need to go and put this onto my client? And I think the problem with being a personal trainer or a fitness coach is that if you ask any person on the street, do you think your personal trainer knows or your fitness coach knows what you should be eating to get the result? And they'll go, well, yeah, it's like expected. But you ask any fitness coach who has been on any form of standard personal training qualification and ask them how much nutritional education and information was available to them, it was one, bog standard and basic, or two, it wasn't applicable. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is great, but what can I actually do with this information? So, you know, and I've seen it come through social media through a lot of newly qualified coaches, where I'm sure you probably see it a lot. There's one classic post that everyone kind of puts out, which is, if you're not losing weight, it's because you're not in a calorie deficit. That's like me and you saying, if you're not making money right now, it's because you have more money going out than you have coming in. And I'm like, okay, that's the fact. Yeah, like I get it. But like, what the fuck can I do with this? Like, what can I actually do with this specific info? So I think it comes down to application more than anything. And I think the problem comes down to, it's interesting, go back to the school system. For me, it's interesting because me and my partner were talking about this today. I remember for business studies, I did A-level business studies, and my teacher was 23 who had just come out of university. And I was like, how can I possibly be taught about business studies by someone who has only ever studied in higher education? So, and I think that this kind of comes down to the problem and the challenge that you find that a lot of people are very quick to kind of get out of the, I'm still coaching, and they go, right, I'm just going to go and teach because it's easier. Or they never really kind of liked it anymore. They acquired a load of info and then want to go and share it. And I think that especially in the nutritional industry, there's tons of it. Like, and I know this could potentially kind of upset people, but I've met loads of nutritionists who are overweight. And I'm like, you can't be. Like, you can't.
No.
And that comes down to as well, almost like you might have all of the knowledge, but you obviously don't have the application, because if you did, you'd apply it to yourself. And that, in all honesty, is like, I've coached coaches for quite a while now from a nutritional point of view. And the first thing I say to them is, I'm going to teach you a load of facts, loads of information, but before you go and use this with any client, you apply it to yourself. You apply it to yourself, because then you have two things. There's a lot of imposter syndrome going around nutritionally, which I get. And I think, first of all, that does come down to a lack of education given to a coach from the first part. But then I think the other part comes down to that they're guessing about facts that are stored in their memory. Versus for me, I have absolutely zero imposter syndrome about my nutritional information. Not because I'm smarter, not because I'm better or I've learned more, but every single nutritional strategy I've ever learned, I've applied to myself and understood exactly what happens. So for example, there's a supplement called beta-alanine. You find it a lot in pre-workouts. It's really quite funny, actually, because the professor who I did my master's degree under at university, he actually did all of the original research on beta-alanine. And I'll never forget, like, there was this one kind of seminar I had with him. It was really cool. And he goes, just type in on Twitter beta-alanine and just watch what all of these meatheads are saying. Because in a standard pre-workout, you will see that there is always beta-alanine. Because a side effect of beta-alanine is tingles. So you get this, like, it's almost like your skin's on fire. So they load pre-workout up with beta-alanine because it gives you the tingles. So you type in beta-alanine on Twitter and you just see all these memes going, my beta-alanine's kicking in. And I'm like, but it's actually not doing anything. There's just like a standard sort of placebo effect. But the point I'm coming at is that on paper, the supplementation guidelines for beta-alanine are 6.4 grams per day. Now, I honestly urge anyone to go and take 6.4 grams of beta-alanine per day and watch your face melt. You will feel awful, like you feel atrocious. Like you go past 2.4 grams, which again, like is huge. It's like 3 times the dose, and you start to feel those side effects. So if I'd have simply just regurgitated the info that I got over to someone else, hey, my client's going to be like, dude, what have you done? Like, why have you given me this info? So I think the point I'm coming at is that it's the application. But the first application needs to be that, yes, absolutely, lots of, personal training courses, nutritional courses have failed the person who's going through the course in terms of not giving them the information. But then it's the application. And I just think that you have to be a walking advert for what you're selling, be a walking advert for the result your client can get, and be a walking advert for the person that they can then become. Because when you're doing that, you can then give them all of the practical strategies that they need. Because your client doesn't need to know about how the ketone beta hydroxybutyrate impacts mTOR. They just need to know.
Of course they need to know about that. Explain that to us, mate.
Okay, well, basically, like, what my client needs to know is, Cal, I'm in a service station. I'm absolutely starving. I've been on this way of eating for the past 2 to 3 weeks. These are the options available to me. What do I need to do that fits in with the goal that we're trying to achieve? Yeah. And I know for me, like, I've used ketogenic diets with certain clients previously. If I have a client call me up who's on a ketogenic diet and they go, Cal, we're on a ketogenic diet at the moment. I'm really hungry. What can I do? I'm in a service station. If I've never been on a ketogenic diet in a service station, really hungry, how could I possibly expect myself to advise them? I can't. So I just think that that's where your confidence really starts to kind of build. So for me, a big thing I've always said to coaches is get away from sharing facts and start sharing your lessons. Because then you can't, there's no imposter syndrome there because you're not making anything up.
That is a good shout, my man. And so what I would say on that as well is, there's so many people want to fast track the process, as in like, just let me get qualified. Fuck the experience. I just done this 12-week body transformation. I'm good to go. Right. And so then what happens is same scenario plays out. Client messages them and says, oh, here, I've got this thing going on based on the information that you've given me. What do I do right now? I was like, oh shit, I don't know. I haven't experienced it. And yes, okay, we try to lead in regards to, you know, asking the right questions to clients, but sometimes you just do have to give them a straight answer, as in like, hey, here's what I've done in the past, here's what you might want to consider. And if you haven't done it, if you've no story to draw on, it's going to be really fucking tricky for you.
Yeah, so you look at kind of yourself, think about how many nightmare clients have you had over your decade of coaching? Yeah.
Dozens.
So now in
Dozens.
terms of the coaches, the guys that you now coach to become coaches who are coaches, how much can you draw from those experience with Karen, Sharon's, Dave's, you know, all Ian's, all of them, to then go and apply to those to your coaches? Like, how much experience can you now draw from that?
It's crazy, mate. You know, so someone, and this still gets to me to this day, right? So I had an ad running before, and I can't remember exactly what was on the ad, but anyway, this guy wrote on the ad, and he said something along the lines of, as long as you know all of the exercises on the gym floor, you don't need to do a PT course, or you don't need to do your course. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, prove it to me then. I was like, so I will give you the opportunity to come in and coach on my gym floor under the condition that you let me video it for when you shit the bed, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Right? I said, so this is an opportunity for you, by all means, if you're so confident in what it is that you're saying. And I wrote this on social media. I'm like, here, prove me wrong. If that's the case, if this is what you believe, come in and show me. Like, don't just sit there and say this shit. Come in and show me that all you need to do to, you know, be a personal trainer or a coach is just know the exercises, because I promise you will get onto the gym floor with my clients who have been training with me, some of them a decade plus, and they would wipe the floor with your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like they would literally be like, whoa, what are you talking about here? Like, you know, you're way off the mark with this. And so even from a confidence standpoint, you know, you talk about imposter syndrome, right? So it's like, you know, Dunning-Kruger, you know, the more you know, the less you know, the more you think you know, the more you know, the more you know there is to know. And so what would happen is someone thinks, oh, I could do that, no problem, right? Until they're actually faced with the scenario where they have to do it. And then they're like, oh shit, you know, all right, maybe there's a little bit more to this. And then that's where imposter syndrome creeps in, right? Because then they have to show that they can do it, and then they realize, oh shit, there's more to this game than what I seen. And it's like, you know what I would say to people, like, if you could do it, you'd have done it already.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's easy to be a personal trainer, or it's easy to be a coach. Oh, well, if that's the case, if you could have done it, you would have done it already. So therefore, you haven't done it, so it's not that fucking easy, is it?
Yeah. And you know, like, yeah. And do you know the thing I found as well? So I'm a big fan of a guy called Dan Sullivan. He's written some fantastic books, like 10x Easy and 2x, Who Not How. And he is kind of like instilled this one piece of information in my head that has been kind of a game changer for me, really, and also allowed me to kind of deal with failure, deal with those kind of oh shit moments so much better. Where he basically says that, like, he's referring to it in terms of a business, but I see it in so many sort of ways in terms of, like, as a coach or as a personal trainer, in that he almost kind of talks about this 50-50 rule of, let's say I'm starting a business up, my fitness business. I'm coming to market with 50% of the idea, and then I allow everything else that happens, i.e. the market, give me the remaining 50% of that idea. So it's almost like, you know, I look at it with my qualifications. You know, I've got a normal bachelor's degree, a master's degree in performance nutrition. I got accepted to do a PhD in performance nutrition as well. I saw that as the first 50%. And then when I go and put it into play, all of the stuff that can't be revealed to me here reveals itself, and it reveals itself in those, like, oh shit. But they're like hurdles that I have to overcome, and they're lessons that I have to learn. And that's the practical things that you're like, right, okay, if you're going to take this, this is what it actually looks like in the real world. So my question for you is that, let's say you've got someone who either wants to become a fitness coach and they want to be about a coach versus a personal trainer, or maybe they've kind of slipped into because I know a couple of the guys who are watching this. I've seen a few guys come up and I've had these sorts of conversations with them previously. They've maybe slipped into almost like there must be more to this. Like there has to be more to this. What are the benefits in terms of being more of a coach, whether it's internally in terms of your own fulfillment, whether it's from a business point of view? What are the benefits of going like, right, okay, I'm not just going to be almost kind of like a, off the conveyor belt personal trainer, and I'm going to be almost kind of like a coach in a league of my own, so to speak. Like why would someone go and pursue that?
Just before I go into that, I've got a PhD as well, but it's a pig-headed discipline.
Yes.
It's too stupid to quit. It's just too stupid.
Love that.
So while you were saying that, the first thing that was coming to my mind was that it's adult to adult, right? As in like the relationships that you have with the people that you coach, they're adult to adult relationships. Whereas I find quite often, because being a personal trainer, counting reps on the gym floor, it's very parent-child relationship orientated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily curating independence, because the person is reliant on you standing there counting their reps, correcting their form, right? And it's like, it can be very
transactional almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be very of that nature, right? And so I think that there's, at least for me personally, that worst thing. It's like I've got about an hour of presence and focus with my kids, and then I'm like, you're doing my head. Go away. All jokes aside, though. But when you're talking to an adult and you're having to almost like babysit an adult, I think that's the thing that can wear you down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because it's like you're answering silly questions that you've maybe answered before, and you're definitely going to question whether or not this is the way. But whenever you get into the coaching role, it very much sort of prioritizes giving the person independence. And so then it becomes, rather than a parent-child relationship, it's an adult-adult relationship. And it's just a lot more fulfilling in that sense, because then you feel like you're giving some, but also you're getting some back, right? Whereas I think sometimes being a personal trainer can be soul-sucking in the sense that you're giving some, but it's like there's nothing in return here, because it's the same with kids, right? You don't expect kids to give you back. Like, at least my kids, I live for them. I don't want nothing in return, right? And so I think that relationship can largely be the same, albeit it's only an hour a day. But if you're doing that with 6 different people for 6 hours a day, then that's where the problems come into. Whereas like in a coaching relationship, the difference there from a practical standpoint is that rather than coaching 6 different people as like being their parent for 6 hours in the day, basically draining the life out of you for those 6 hours. Well, in a coaching scenario, you might be training all 6 people at the same time, and it's just adult to adult conversations. It's like, hey, how's the nutrition going? How's the training going? Did you do this thing I told you to do outside? Awesome. What do you need to know? Any questions for me? So it's almost just like it's that type of relationship rather than the previous that I just mentioned. I think that's the biggest thing. And also, the time commitment to it, it's way less, way more fulfilling. And I just think it's a better business model as well, above all else.
Yeah. It's interesting because as you're saying that, I literally kind of have, I'm almost kind of like replaying like that exact feeling of, you said soul sucking. It's almost that like for me, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, it's almost like I had this list of clients, and I'm like, I look at in terms of results, and they were and almost kind of the progress that they've made. I'm like, what am I actually like? This is shit. This is so shit.
It doesn't have to be that way either.
Yeah.
It does not have to be that way. Like, I know in my experience, like some of our guys, because they're the same boat, if you don't know what you don't know. And if someone, like if you're only given, which by the way, on the ECA certification, we teach people fundamentally how to train someone on a one-to-one level, right? But it's like, even that is, there's so much detail involved in that. And sometimes I say to our guys, look, here's what, like, think about all of the details involved in this. Now, there's a lot, and quite frankly, it's quite tricky to get all that across. Like you can't unlearn something, and so once you know it, then it's hard to disregard it, right? You know, for in a nutrition, it's not like you can't unlearn shit when it comes to nutrition. No one's going to say to you, "Oh, here, do you know what? See if your client just follows a calorie deficit, everything is good." But you can't unlearn all of the stuff that you already know, so it's impossible for you then to disregard it and not give it to your nutritional clients, right? And so it's the same when it comes to training. It's impossible to disregard what you already know, and at least for me, not then give it to our coaches. And when they get it, I'm going to be like, listen, it's going to be hard to disregard all of this stuff. And so what then happens is, look, you sure you can give this to a one-to-one client, but where it would be more applicable is if you just go shotgun approach and just give it to a whole bunch of clients and educate your clients in the way that they need to be educated on this stuff. I mean, I was going to let my boys in because they've just called at the door.
Right, dude. Priorities.
You know, educate the clients on this stuff, and so you know, they're going to take much more away from the relationship rather than you know, just the standard coming and going to the gym. And yeah, I just think it's a much better process, mate.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned business model there as well. That like when you, I don't know, kind of when you're feeling that sort of like fulfillment and that like that you're invested in your client as well. Because I know that like I got to so many situations where I just kind of checked out with this person, and they probably kind of felt that. And because I'd kind of checked out, they'd kind of checked out as well. And then naturally you're then kind of getting back onto the treadmill of having to bring new people back in. And I think that it comes down to like, I know for myself that I remember I was procrastinating immensely at one point over trying to grow my business. Like I knew exactly everything that I needed to do, but I just couldn't almost kind of seem to do it. And I realized what the problem was within this, because I was really kind of kicking myself so much because like I don't understand, like, and again, like I had this sort of internal dialogue for myself where it's just like, you know, is it me? Do I have what it takes? Like, should I actually be running this business? But then I'm a huge Russell Brunson fan. Like I've read all of his books. I was in his coaching program. I've kind of like, yeah, I've almost kind of like been a bit of a disciple. And I remember him saying that the most important thing is who do you want to work with and who do you want to be a hero to? And I looked at the problem was, you kind of said that adult to child relationship. I looked at my clients and I almost kind of had like within these, like a list of children, but that was also my fault.
Yep.
Because the way in which I was coaching them, I wasn't coaching them. I was simply just saying, here, do this. And like, here, go and eat that. Like, that's it. I wasn't actually really kind of understanding them as an individual. So therefore, I was almost kind of operating like just a parent saying, here, do this. So I realized that they were then causing me a nightmare because they were never following what I was telling them to do. Then I kind of felt like I was relentlessly banging my head against the wall, just like not getting anywhere with these people. And I kind of realized that if I got more clients in, that meant more pain. And us as human beings don't do things for pain. So naturally, I would then procrastinate over growing my business because I was going to have more and more of those types of people, but I didn't tackle the root cause, which was like, hey, actually, you need to kind of change up the kind of coach that you are to these different types of people. So, and that's where I kind of find that, you know, if we kind of look at the nutritional side of things, it's about so much more than just giving someone a macro target. Because again, you look at all of this, it's about relationships. That when do most people eat? Like they eat around other people. Like they eat with their friends. And you have to be able to tackle that when you're educating someone. Because see, so many coaches get pissed off with like their clients, like, you know, they're going out and they're just eating this and they're drinking that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. It frustrates the hell out of me. But remember, like if you have a client who's relentlessly in that situation, they're not following what you're doing when they're away. So let's say they're out with their friends and social occasions is a big thing, and they're constantly having burger and chips as opposed to having a nice salad. Yeah. The problem is that if I just keep saying like, right, you know, we need to be in a calorie deficit, we need to go for the low carb option, go for the low calorie option, I'm just tackling the surface level of the problem. Whereas if I actually ask them, like, can I ask you a question? Like, why do you struggle? Because obviously you struggle because this is the sticking point. Why is it that you're actually struggling here? And if they then come back to me and say, well, I'm going to be honest, like, you know, all of my friends know that I've been on a diet for the past 25 years. I'm constantly trying something. And, you know, I don't want to be that person who is almost kind of like the fun vacuum. I'm sucking the fun out of the room by going, oh, they're all having burgers, they're all having drinks, and I'm just going to go and have a salad. Like, that's going to make me feel really kind of uncomfortable. And then I've got my friends going, oh, I'll do this, and this. How is me then saying just be in a calorie deficit and have the low calorie option going to help them? Like, it's not, because that's not the problem. The problem is actually that they need to address the relationship with their friends and have a conversation and say, hey guys, just so you know, like, I really want to make this work now. You all know that I've been trying for quite a long time to make this happen. And I really want to make this work. And you're not putting any pressure on me whatsoever, but I just need to kind of know that if we go out and for the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks, I'm not going to have a drink, that you're cool with that. And that I don't want to bring the party down and that I'm still having a good time. And this is my choice. Is everyone okay with that? And I guarantee if they're their mates, they'll say, yeah. And then you've tackled the real root cause of the problem. And that's what the difference is for me in terms of someone who knows a load of nutrition facts versus someone who can actually go like, okay, right, you know what to do, but you can't seem to do what needs to be done. So let's tackle this part. And you know, the other thing as well is sometimes the actual vehicle that they're being given is the thing that's stopping them from getting the results. And this is why you've got to expand your knowledge, because I know for me, I had 2 clients. One was an absolute nightmare and the other was a dream. Like, one, literally, I would just give him his nutritional plan and he would just nail it. Okay. The other, it was just like, I'm sure you can kind of think of the kind of person. He was literally like trying to squeeze blood out of the stone.
Put it in teeth.
Like, literally, I would have better success pulling my eyelashes out. And I remember going like, right, I need to ask a question here and I need to figure out why they're not adhering. And I went to my main client, his name's Ewan. He was brilliant. Like, he lost 6 stone in 6 months, type 2 diabetes went away. And I said, Ewan, you'd be so easy. Like, why is it that you just do everything that I tell you to do? And he goes, well, because whenever I do it, I get a result. So whatever you've told me to do has worked. So I'm just going to keep doing it. So then I go back to the other client who had been a nightmare. And I asked her, I was like, look, I'm going to be honest. Like, why aren't you following it? She goes, well, to be honest, like, I was following it to start with, but it wasn't really kind of working. And every time you gave me a new solution, it didn't really work. Either it didn't work in terms of the result or it didn't fit with my lifestyle. So there only kind of comes a point where it's like, if you're running a business and if you have a business coach and you keep following everything that they're telling them to do and then you're losing money, eventually you're going to get to a point where you go, I'm going to stop listening to this person. So I think it's a combination of making sure that you have a variety of options and a variety of different solutions for different people that fit in with different lifestyles. And then you understand how to actually communicate that with people in a way that allows them to take action. And that's where, again, that's, in my opinion, what separates a rep counter from a coach from a nutritional point of view. A rep counter is, I've got 20 clients and I'm just going to go on Google, get my free macro calculator out there, put my weight in, put their height in, put their energy expenditure in, or blah, 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 get that. Okay, right, here's your macros. And that's personalized. That's the personalized side of things. And I'll stick their name on as well because it's personalized. That's a rep counter. Whereas from a nutritional point of view, you got to understand about the person. Like, you look at personalization, like, you have to put the person into it, whether it's personalization in terms of their lifestyle, because they can have 5 kids. Like, they can have loads of kids running a job, and that simple macro split isn't going to work for them. But then also, I think the other thing is personalization in terms of their personality as well. So I've been quite vocal for quite some time around just giving people macros and a calorie target in terms of like MyFitnessPal. And that's just all they need to do from a nutritional point of view. Now, for me, that your nutritional strategy has to be tied in with the personality of the person you're working with. So if I have an accountant, and let's say they're very, very data driven, okay, MyFitnessPal is absolutely perfect for them. It will get their nipples so hard if I go and say like, hey, go and plug all this data in. You come to someone like me with ADHD and the attention span of a gnat, the longest I've been able to track till is lunchtime. Like, I can't do it. Like, I'm spinning 7 different plates at a time. I'm trying to run a business, trying to be a friend, trying to do this, and this. And then you're trying to ask me to take a photo of every single piece of food that I'm having, weigh it out, count it. I can't count, and get that all together and then hit within a number. doesn't fit in with my personality, doesn't fit in with my lifestyle. So I guess really then it kind of comes down to what is the caliber of coach you want to be? Like, do you want to be a rep counter? And that's the same from a nutritional point of view. Or do you want to be someone who fully understands the person stood in front of them, where they want to go, why they want to get there, and then facilitate them and allow, you said that, independence. Like, a coach should be a facilitator in terms of, and I remember having this conversation with Phil Brady, and he said coaching is just about creating a space for someone to really kind of come to the idea themselves and then go and take action on it. Like, the more you're talking and telling, that's not coaching. That's not coaching, that's telling. And it's the same as selling. Like, selling, the best salespeople are the best listeners. And that the person then sells themselves onto it off the back of it. And again, I think that that's what is the difference between people who go through a certification that turns them into a personal trainer, that is a rep counter, versus someone who can have substance. Because I know for me, something had to change. So if someone's kind of watching this now and they do have thoughts about a career in the fitness industry, the first question needs to be, how long do you actually want to be in there? Like, how long do you want to be doing this for? Because I promise you, there is only so much time that you can tolerate, almost like just telling people, do this, this, and this, because it loses its spark and it loses its excitement. And you have to be all in with it, with your soul. And there comes a point where it's like, right, okay, you know, if I just solely go down the route of qualifying as a personal trainer, I'm just going to count reps. Do you honestly just want to be in a gym counting reps for the next 20, 25 years? Is that what you want to do? If you do, fantastic, go and do that and just go on a standard course and you'll be able to do it. But I think that, you know, I've been running a business specifically for 8 years, and it's an emotional journey. And you have to really, really be in love with, I think it's progress for me, that there is progress and that there's momentum and you're moving forward towards something. There's only so many reps you can count, and you can't get better at counting reps.
No.
Like, maybe you have like AI count the reps for you.
Yeah. Or they can count them themselves.
They can count them themselves. But I just think that the thing for me that keeps this journey exciting, which then increases my desire to grow it as a business and make it better, is that there is a never-ending progression within it. There's a never-ending progression in terms of my skill set, the people that I can meet, the way in which I can share that information and that education. And that's what makes it exciting. And I think that that's what makes a successful fitness business off the back of it, which isn't that what you really want?
Exactly, my man. Exactly. Couldn't have put it any better, brother. Couldn't have put it any better. And I mean, for, you know, someone starting off, what does all of this mean? Quite simply, you know, you hit the nail on the head. You have to ask yourself, like, what type of coach do you want to be? What type of impact do you want to have on the fitness industry? Me personally, I don't do things by halves. I think you know me well enough by now.
Yeah.
Like, I do not do things by halves. And so, you know, the standard that I have for myself is, you know, if you're going to do something, do it right. Like, like, here's what I will say, and this is a little reframe for, you know, some of the people watching this, where be it, you know, if you're just starting off or whatever it is, but like, imagine you own a gym, or imagine, no matter what, you're hiring a coach, right? So it could be from a gym owner perspective, or it could just be, I want to hire a coach to look after every aspect of my life, right? And so then if you put yourself in the shoes of that person, gym owner, and they're faced with two options. Option number one, they've got someone who is willing to invest heavily in themselves, who's invested in the process, who's in it for the long haul, who just wants to go to town, wants to learn, wants to get all of the experience. Or would they hire the person who's half-arsing it, not really invested in themselves, trying to fast track things, not open-minded, not willing to learn, not enthusiastic? Well, it's a no-brainer. The gym owner is going to hire the coach who is like balls to the wall. And it's the same for someone who's hiring a coach as well. It's the exact, they're processing it in the same way. And so one of the things that I always said was, gold medals are never won by the person who done the least, right? So if they put that into your career, by doing the least, do you win the medal? Do you know? Do champions do the least? It's like, no, they're the ones who've done the most preparation, the most investment, the most time, energy, money, attention. Everything went into it, and so it's like, why would you try to fast track your way to a successful career in fitness? Why would you not invest more into yourself? Why would you not invest in coaches? Why would you not invest in people to give you feedback? People that are still doing it in the industry, like you and I. You know, from a nutritional standpoint, from a fitness standpoint, from a business standpoint, why would you not seek people out that have done what you want to do? Okay, it might be longer. The process might take longer. Sometimes it might be more emotionally, shall we say, apparent, the fact that you're not always going to get what you want to hear, right? They're not going to fucking blow smoke up your arse, because I certainly would not do that with our students. But it's for their development, you know. And so yes, while it takes a lot more work to get there, it's just worth it, because it builds a foundation upon something that is rock solid, instead of something that will just, you know, it's just shaky and it's just on like, you get what I'm saying here, bro? It's like,
yeah, I've got
this thing, you know what I mean?
I've got a story here which summarizes what you said there, and it's something that I frequently remind myself of. So I don't know whether I got it from Alex Hormozy. So I'm going to read it kind of here. I'm sure you might have heard it before, but two men set out to build a building. One lays the foundation for a 10-story building and finishes the entire building in 9 months. The other lays the foundation for a 100-story building, and it takes him the entire 9 months just to build the first few floors. The first, being ahead, mocks the second guy for taking so long. He now decides he wants to build his building into a 100-story building to prove how good of a builder he is. So he tries to add stories on top. He gets to 15, 16 stories, and then the foundation begins to crack. He starts reinforcing things, but no matter what, he feels he can't put any more on top. Over time, the second guy, who took longer building his building, now passes the first man. 2 years later, the second man completes his 100-story building, despite barely having his foundation finished by the time the first man had finished his first entire building. The first man then goes to a mentor to ask his advice on growing his building taller. The mentor tells him, you need to tear the building down or start another one anew. And he says, and waste all the time I spent building this one. Can't I just add it on top if I just knew how? The mentor replies with, there's a lesson here. The fastest way to build a 10-story building isn't the fastest way to build a 100-story building. Your desire to grow fast ruins your ability to grow big. And I just think that the one thing that you said to me before was rite of passage. That, like, I think for me that getting to learn from the best people out there, that was amazing for me. I was like, I get to learn from these guys. You look at, like, you know, Michael Jordan, for example. He became amazing because he was coached by the best. Like, he had the best coaches there. So you look at you know, if you really want to be the best, you have to be coached by the best. And that takes longer, and it's probably a bigger investment, whether it's financially or whether it's with your emotion, your energy. But again, what kind of coach do you want to be? You know, and I think that, you know, I kind of think about, that in general, that is a question that has to consistently run through your mind. And I think the one thing for me is that this fitness industry may be scary, potentially getting into, because it's saturated. There's more coaches than ever, but it's not competitive because it's full of rep counters. Whereas if you can really kind of go like, right, I'm going to learn from the people who've been able to stand out, been able to carve out their own unique place in the industry, but really off the back of delivering results in their own reputation, then I can do that too. And I think that that's the secret, to be honest.
Yeah. I think one thing that I would urge, you know, and again, I don't think peer, you know, what your peers see you do is, because again, there's this thing, you know, where people might behave in a way that is more appealing to their peers than appealing to their clients, right? So we've seen this before. But I think that's also helpful in a sense that if you do things in terms of your preparation that your peers cannot question, right? So here's the thing, right? You and I, people might look, people in Birmingham, people in Belfast, they might look to you and I as being peers in the fitness industry, right? And those guys trying to impress us is not going to serve them when it comes to marketing or anything like that, right? But what I would say is those guys trying to impress us in the sense of how they're educating themselves will serve them, right? Because then I can't question your journey. Whereas if someone comes to me and I'm like, well, what was your journey into the industry? What did you do? And they're like, well, I've done this 12-week transformation and then I've done this online course that took 2 weeks. I'm like, questionable. Like my face is going to say, they're like, what was that about? So your peer is then questioning your journey. Whereas if you operate in a way, like let's say you are trying to impress your peers with your journey, like that's only going to serve you, right? Now, what is like if it's for that reason, like if you're trying to impress your peers with your marketing, it's like stupid because we don't care, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of the actions that you're taking that lead to that, because you could impress us with the marketing, but if you haven't done the thing that backs up what you're saying, well then it's like, what was the point?
It's the results you've produced.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember Matthew McConaughey, actually, when he won an Oscar, I remember his book is brilliant. It's called Green Lights.
Green Lights.
It's fantastic. Oh, I love it. Just the way he writes it. And yeah, so silky smooth.
Yep.
But he said that his Oscar meant so much to him because his peers, that it was voted for by his peers and they had acknowledged him for such a high quality piece of work and they understood what must have gone into him being able to deliver that specific performance. And I think that's how you not to say climb the ladder, but that's how I think that's how you grow and evolve within this and get the respect of your peers by someone going, if you've done that, I know what that takes, which means I know what you're made of.
Yeah.
That you're that kind of person, you've got that substance and you're going to go and do that. And I want to have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And it says so much about them as a person. So again, like in terms of, that if I'm going into the industry early or if I'm in the industry now, I think that again, it comes down to like, what are the results I want to actually produce? Like, do I just want to have like a big Instagram following? Like, if that's what you want to do, great. But your skill set really is going to be the skill set of a content creator as opposed to as an actual coach.
Yeah.
Whereas if the results that you want to really produce, for me, the thing I just want a budding community of like-minded individuals who have their place, they have their people, and they're all on this meaningful pursuit, becoming better and better and better, learning about the thing that they absolutely love and honing their craft and getting better and better and better at that. That is the result that I am obsessed with being able to deliver. So I think that again, as a coach, you have to ask that question: what's this about?
Yeah.
Like, what is the result I want to deliver here? Because, if it is just solely the Instagram side of things, that's great. But focus your energy on becoming fantastic at social media, marketing, copywriting. That's what you really kind of need to go down. Whereas the other route is, and that comes down to what vehicles you're going to use. Whether, because to do that as a fitness influencer, just do a really quick online course so you can say that I'm a qualified PT and then I can set up an online coaching program. But if you want to kind of like, I remember you saying to me, I've got clients who've been working with me for years still. Like, you have to know what you're on about from a coaching point of view to be able to have that type of relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And you can be coached by either way, but that comes down to where you want to go.
Love it, my man.